Ever wish you could see the future? I mean, who hasn't, right? It's this deep-seated thing we all have, whether we're wondering if we need an umbrella tomorrow or if our company is going to hit its sales targets next year. Well, it turns out there's a whole toolkit for looking into the future, and it's called forecasting. And no, it's not about crystal balls or tarot cards. It's about using the clues from the past to make a really smart, educated guess about what's coming next.
So to really get how powerful this can be, let's start with a real-life story. For over 2 years, the Nevada Occupational Health Clinic was doing great. And then, one day, disaster struck. A fire burned the clinic completely to the ground. But you know what? Once the smoke cleared, their real problem was just getting started. See, the clinic's insurance was supposed to cover lost income. But here's the catch. To get that money, they had to prove exactly how much they would have earned during the 7 months it took them to rebuild. They literally had to forecast a future that had been completely erased. And this is where forecasting stops being some boring textbook exercise and becomes absolutely critical. For this clinic, it was the key to their survival. They had to find a reliable way to use their past performance to build a convincing picture of their lost future. Their whole problem was a problem of time. Okay, so before you can look forward, you gotta look back. You need data, and statisticians have a kind of fancy name for this, a time series. But don't let the name fool you. All it really is a set of data points recorded in order over time, like the clinic's monthly billings before the fire. This history, this list of numbers, that's the raw material for any prediction.
And what's wild is that pretty much any time series, whether you're looking at sales or stock prices or patient visits, is actually a combination of 4 distinct patterns. Think of them like rhythms in a piece of music. If you can learn to hear them, you can start to make sense of all the noise.
So here's the big idea. By breaking our data down into these 4 pieces, we can separate the real, meaningful patterns from the random static. And those 4 components are the trend, the cyclical component, the seasonal component, and the irregular component. Let's do a quick look at each one.
First up, we've got the trend. This is the big picture, long-term direction of your data. You know, is it generally going up, down, or staying flat over a long period? You can see it right here with these camera sales. Even with all the little bumps along the way, the overall trend is clearly moving up. Next up is the cyclical component. Think of these as big, slow waves that happen over periods longer than a year. They're often tied to broad economic cycles, the booms and busts. The data essentially wobbles up and down around that main trend line we just talked about. All right, the last 2 are even simpler. The seasonal component is all about patterns that repeat every single year, like clockwork. Think about ice cream sales spiking in the summer. Totally predictable. And then finally, there's the irregular component. This is basically just everything else, the random, unpredictable noise. It's the catch-all for anything the other 3 can't explain. Okay, so that irregular part, all that noise, can make it super hard to see what's actually going on. So our very first forecasting tool is designed to do just one thing: smooth out that noise so we can see the real signal underneath. Just take a look at this. These are weekly gasoline sales. It's all over the place, right? It jumps up, drops down, shoots way up again. Trying to guess what's going to happen in week 13 just by looking at this? Good luck. The data is just a mess. But now, check this out. Watch what happens when we apply a really simple trick called a 3-week moving average. See that new blue line? Look how much smoother it is. It's like it magically filters out all those crazy weekly jumps and gives us a much clearer, more stable picture of what's really happening. So how does this magic work? Honestly, it's so simple, it's almost funny. To predict what week 4 is going to be, you just take the sales from weeks 1, 2, and 3, add them up, and divide by 3. That's it. To predict week 5, you do the same for weeks 2, 3, and 4. You're just using the average of the most recent past to guess the very next step. So moving averages are awesome for looking just around the corner, at the short term. But what if you're like that medical clinic and you need to project much further down the road? For that, we need to find that long-term trend line. All right, check this out. Here we have 10 years of bicycle sales. And again, just like that gasoline data, the year-to-year numbers are scattered all over the map. You got big peaks, deep valleys. It's really hard to see the big picture just by eyeballing it. But now for the really cool part. We can use a simple statistical method to calculate the one single straight line that best fits the path of all those scattered points. And bam, Suddenly, the chaos disappears. The long-term signal is crystal clear. Sales are consistently going up. And that line isn't just a pretty picture, it's an actual mathematical equation. Now, don't worry, it's simpler than it looks. All this formula is really saying is that bicycle sales started with a baseline of about 20,400 units, and on average, they grew by another 1,100 units every single year. We just boiled down a decade of messy data into one clean, powerful sentence. And here's the best part. We can use that little equation to project into the future. By just plugging the number 11 for the 11th year into our formula, we get a forecast of 32,500 bicycles. That's the power of trend projection. So you see, forecasting isn't about finding one magic method that fits everything. It's about having a toolkit. Smoothing methods, like that moving average, help you see what's just around the corner. Trend projection helps you see where the whole road is heading in the long run. But let's be totally clear here. No forecast is perfect. The world is just too complex for that. The goal isn't to get it 100% right every time. The real goal is to reduce our uncertainty, to make smarter decisions, and for businesses like that Nevada health clinic, to provide a logical, defensible estimate of the future when it matters most. So we've seen how these tools can give businesses a powerful edge in predicting things like sales or inventory. But it kind of leaves us with this big, lingering question, doesn't it? How well can these models, built on trends and cycles and noise, really work when we try to predict things that are far more human and way less predictable, like social movements or election results, or even the path of our own lives?